Hello, friends. Welcome to another episode of podcast series in HR to CHRO podcasts. And today we have Mr. Sujoy Banerjee with us, one of the most experienced CHROs whom we had the pleasure of interacting with in this series. He has had 35 plus years of experience. He started his career after graduating from XISS Ranchi. He started his career with Tata Motors. Then he worked with Dunlop, ICI, Philips, BOC, Eveready, and he's now Group CHRO of Gainwell Group. So, welcome to this podcast, Sujoy. Thanks for giving us time.
Thank you. Thank you, Amit.
All right. So, to start with, Sujoy, why HR?
Mm.
Why did you decide to start or have a career in HR?
Amit, I'll be brutally honest. When I joined XISS, I did not know what HR was all about. I didn't have a very standard, structured answer to say I like interacting with people. I always tell people that I came into HR by default because being a student of humanities, options in finance was not there because that was not an option available to me. It could have been either marketing or HR. So HR happened, Amit, and it was not a very conscious decision that I have to make a career in HR. Yes, to a certain extent, I was influenced by a cousin of mine who did his post graduation from XI Ranchi a few years ago, before me, and also a brother-in-law of mine who was a personal manager in those days in a reputed organization. So that was my brief insight into the function, but I didn't know what it was all about. So I would rather say it was more by default to have a career for myself, which paid me well after my graduation, and therefore I HR happened for me.
Okay. Very nice. Very nice, Sujoy. So, see, only 0.5% people they reach the CXO level, and you have been there for such a long time now. So, what has been the secret of your success, Sujoy?
Amit, there's no secret sauce for my success. The secret that I talk about is certainly I sincerely did my work. I put in a lot of hard work in terms of constantly learning about what's happening in the domain of HR, what's happening in my business, because at the end of the day, HR being an enabling function for the business success, I had to constantly learn, unlearn, relearn what's happening in the business environment as well as what is happening in the world of HR. So that has been a continuous learning journey for me since the time I stepped into Tata Motors in June 1990, because the institute teaches you the basics, the theory, and the fundamentals. So, post that, it has been a journey of learning through experiential learning, through experiences, through incidents, through failures, through mistakes that I've made. So, the journey has been a continuous learning journey, and I have never stopped that. So, sincere effort in learning and trying to contribute those learnings into the business effectiveness has been my mantra, if you say. To Another dimension of my success has been I've been blessed with a lot of very good leaders who have held my hand and taught me a lot of things in this professional journey of mine. And I owe a large part of my success to my seniors from whom I have constantly learned. Not that they have taught me in a very structured manner. I've learned by observing them, learned by interacting with them, and learned by seeing how they handle various situations, various contexts, and have been constantly dialoguing with them and learning from them. So, this has also been a learning process. The third has been my colleagues and team members. I have constantly learned and I'm constantly learning from them. So, my team members have been blessed with very good team members all through my life, and they have contributed to the success, whatever little I've achieved in my life till today. My leaders, my bosses, my seniors, and my team members. So it's been a very shared success, what I would say.
Very nice. See, most of the people, this is very few times when I have heard leaders or CHROs saying that they learn from their team members and their colleagues. So I'll come back to that point. But before that, see, one very interesting point which you mentioned was learning from failures and mistakes. And I would want to highlight this simply because the world that we are living in, for whatever reason, handling failure is becoming so very difficult nowadays. And I mean, I counsel people. I'm sure you would also be counseling people who after facing failure find it very difficult to cope with that. So, some examples on how a failure, which seemingly was a failure, actually turned out to be a blessing, and you learned so much or you improved so much because of that failure. If you could share some lessons, some examples on that, Sujoy.
My first learning through failure came because I was an industrial relations person in the early part of my career. So I worked in the factories for the first 7, 8 years of my career. So my first failure, I would say, because Tata Motors was typically a very early nascent stage of my career, so I learned a lot, more of a learning phase rather than a contributing phase. My first failure, I think, came in ICI Rishra Works when I was a assistant IR manager of the plant, and there was a IR issue in the plant with the contract labor union, who were doing the loading and unloading in the paints plant, and there was some issues, work stoppages, and there was chief personnel manager of the plant, and there were two IR managers, including me. So I was responsible for the paints plant, and therefore a lot of hard bargaining was going on with the contract labor. And knowing Bengal and the leftist, I'm talking about the early 90s or mid 90s, when labor unions were pretty aggressive in Bengal, and especially the leftist trade unions.
I understand.
C2, AITUC, and
Correct.
it was outskirts of Calcutta. So the CPI led trade union was pretty aggressive. They get out, they did slogan shouting. There are a whole lot of things. I'm not getting into details. So when we had this conversation with the union leader, a couple of them, we came into some sort of an understanding when they're going to resume work the next day morning shift. The biggest mistake I did was not to minute the minutes of the meeting.
Oh,
I went by their. I thought that it was a relationship of trust, relationship of, and I did not involve also the minority C2 union who had some members in that loading and unloading team. So I thought that yeah, AITUC is the biggest union. They have the cloud over the rest of the guys, so they'll be able to pull it through and resume work the next morning, because a lot of loading and unloading of the paints was not happening on the transporters waiting outside in the gate, and therefore the demurrage was happening. A lot of commercial losses were happening. Uh, and I told my boss that, boss, it has been sorted out. Tomorrow morning, 6 o'clock in morning shift, it'll start. And lo and behold, next morning, nothing happened, nothing moved. And so I was pulled up very heavily by the GM Works and my chief personal manager. No, what I learned is yes, while it's important to have a relationship of trust, faith, it's also important to have certain processes in place in terms of documenting minutes of the meeting, getting maybe staying till midnight, documenting the minutes, getting them to sign on the minutes, and also getting the minority union also on board, because all the stakeholders have to be taken on board. It's just not
correct,
one dominant union which has to, because the others are also influencing or impacting the operations.
correct,
So what I learned was, one is to involve all the stakeholders, especially in a context or a situation where various stakeholders are impacting the outcome of the process, not only the people who are the majority or the big ones, and hear all the voices and come to a conclusion which is more amenable and acceptable to everybody. I think I hurried into the solution. I
How
didn't
old
go
were
into a
you?
solution.
How old were you that time?
I was 24,
So it's
25, 25.
understandable.
So there was a huge adrenaline rush to prove myself
Correct,
to my
correct,
bosses.
correct.
That this guy who's passed on excise has spent a couple of years in Tata Motors, comes with a lot of. He thinks he's got horns on his head. He's going to change the world. It doesn't happen that way always. So you need to be much more composed, and especially when you're handling industrial relations scenarios in a plant, take all the stakeholders on board, uh, get them to understand, make them, and then come to a solution, a long-term solution, not a quick fix solution of just starting the loading and unloading next morning. So that was my first rude shock of reality, of being much more taking a much more thought through and a well structured approach towards handling people in industrial relations. Everything is people at the end of the day. So, and it's not always blind trust which works. You need to put certain things, certain guardrails in place when you even handle people. That was
Very
my
nice.
first learning.
Any more? Or let me
Quite
see.
a few, many.
So, see, the one very important learning here is attention to details. Because as
Yeah,
a young professional, we are so sometimes so overconfident, or like you said, in a hurry to prove ourselves that we forget to go into the details, you know. And like Rahul Dravid used to say that God is in the details. So that is, if you want to reach top, the young professionals who are listening to this or watching this, in case they want to reach the top, first of all, failure is not that big a deal, because even even after failure, you can reach the position of a CHRO, but you have to learn from that and
yeah.
get into the details. Very nice. So, any other story, or do we proceed from this?
No, I would just add on. What I would say is that even at certain levels in your career, Amit, even if when you grow higher, also you take certain things for granted, and then also you tend to overlook details because even when I give a report or an analysis or a document to the leadership team now, uh, it has happened to me, not recently, but a few years back, where I took an input from my team members blindly again, saying that I have full trust in them. What they've done is must be absolutely right. And we were doing again a compensation review for our high potential, high performing managers, and certain data points which I should have cross checked once based on certain compensation benchmarking data and market realities. I gave it to them, and then while it was being discussed in the boardroom, I realized, oh God, there's a mistake on this column. I pulled it up saying that, okay, it's been a mistake from my desk because it went from my desk. I cannot
Correct.
blame it on my team members. The final accountability lies on me when I share a particular data. And especially in a leadership meeting, I cannot expose my team. So, yes, even I think at a senior level, also or middle level, eye for detail, as you rightly said, is important. And we at times tend to assume and provide data or give information or make decisions which are not totally informed or properly evaluated and looked into. So it has happened to me even late as maybe 5 6 years back.
Very nice. So brave of you to admit this at this age and stage, Sujoy. It shows the humility that you have. And also, you said, so coming to that point, that learning from colleagues and team members, again, this is such an humbling thought at your age, at your stage, with your experience. So, some more thoughts on that.
Oh yes, I learn from them constantly, Amit, because like I think that even I learned from my son because I think I believe in the process of reverse mentoring. It's not there's a structured process in my organization currently, but I practice it wholeheartedly at every stage of my life. And I just spend a lot of time with the trainees who join and try to figure out from them what is this, because in organizations, I mean, there are multi generations who are working. So generation of dinosaurs like me, intelligent dinosaurs, and there are people born in the 90s, the
Correct.
2000s. So HR leaders are currently confronted with handling multi-generation employees. And therefore, one thing which is interesting to me, I constantly dialogue with them and I talk with them, trying to figure out what is it that makes them happy in an organization. What is it glue or the stickiness in my organization which I need to build into the system or processes which will make them feel engaged, emotionally connected with the organization. That's what throws a lot of insight to me over a period of time. I was being a traditionalist, being a professional 90s, born in the late 60s. For me, a long service award was something you get at 25 years and 30 years at time of retirement. Suddenly, lo and behold, you are told that no, no, after 5 years, you should give a long service award. I said, बस हमको ग्रेचुइटी के लिए आप एंटाइटल हो जाते हो 5 साल के बाद वो सरकार देता है या ट्रस्ट देता है. They said, no, boy, no, sir, 5 years is long service. I said, don't you long service awards? Wanted some recognition of uh, tenure in the organization. So now, over a period of time, I realigned my thought process कि 5 साल के बाद भी देना पड़ेगा, 10 साल के बाद भी देना पड़ेगा, 15 साल के. So you have to constantly keep on keeping the employees engaged and feel happy. And a very small, low hanging fruit, which I talked to you about. But it took a bit of time for me to align to the fact that 5 years, long service award, are you joking? Are you serious? And then I realized, boss, this is what people are looking at. This is what this generation looking at. That we want recognition, we want appreciation of whatever contribution we are making to the organization. And even if it's a small one, even if it's a small appreciation letter along with an Amazon gift vouchers, what some, because nowadays they don't appreciate a watch or anything which they want an Amazon gift voucher or some holiday, those sort of things. So it took some time, Amit, for me to realign and recalibrate my thought process. And this is happening continuously because as I handle multi generations, for a person like me, the social security is more important. So when I also design a compensation package, now companies we haven't yet got, but companies are looking at compensation packages designed differently for different generations of people, so that a lot of people don't want gratuity or a provident fund. They said, "Boss, cash me out, give me money. I'm more interested in money." So are we in a position to have different types of compensation designs in one ecosystem? So these are insights, Amit, which constantly I get to hear from people. And I do a lot of interviews because, in terms of interviewing candidates for employment, especially when it comes to the youngsters, the campus recruitments, I make it a point to go to the campus, talk to the people because they also teach me a lot of things.
Very nice. And you have the humility to accept that you can learn from talking to the younger generation, because sometimes the attitude becomes that I know everything. What can a youngster teach me? So that's so very powerful, Sujoy, and very appreciable also. See, one thing I looking at your career journey, you haven't been scared of changing industries. So from auto industry, you moved on into tire, then paints, then electronics, then FMCG, and again. So is there was this a conscious choice that I need to grow, I need to challenge myself by doing something I have never done before and join a new industry, or what was it?
Amit, I'm a hardcore honest person. I'm brutally honest. That's what I say. It happened.
Okay.
It was not conscious that I started my career with the Tatas. That happened from the campus. They like me, and no one can refuse the Tatas. So they liked me. They took me on board. Then I joined Tire, as you said, Dunlop. Then I moved on to chemicals and paints, ICI. Then I moved on to Philips, which is consumer electronics, and then I moved on to BOC, which was industrial gases, oxygen, nitrogen. So then I moved on to an AkzoNobel group of pharma company, a small called Organon, which is in healthcare. Then moved on to FMCG and Eveready. Then moved on to EPC because part of the Eveready group was McNally Bharat, EPC. And from there, I come into organization which is into which works with Caterpillar, which works with Daimler Benz. We've got our own engineering entity, manufacturing. So it's a multifarious operation. So it has happened not by design. I'm very clear. Whosoever gave me a good opportunity, sold me a dream to work. I'm very hungry for good quality of work. I have a constant appetite for to do new things, to make a difference to the organization, to make a lasting impact, so that when I leave, I want to create legacies in the organizations that I worked for, so that whatever little I have done, not every organization can you transform, but I've always believed that HR is a very, very powerful function in an organization. I've played a very important role in positioning and marketing HR in the C-suite, so that HR is not a pushover. That's why I take a lot of pride being an HR professional. And I say you need people to run your organizations. You just cannot run your organization products and processes and technology. You need people. And that's where I bang on. I bang, bang, bang constantly with my leaders. And that's what I've done over the years. Once I got into that position where my voices would be heard. And there I could create an impact through my teams. That's why I owe it to my teams. So I've worked with them. I've always told them to take pride in your function and try to make a difference in the organizations that we work for. And that has helped me or created that equity that in every organization where I've worked, by God's grace, by the by virtue of my team members and the leadership team and the colleagues that I worked with, I've been able to create a legacy in the respective organization, and that gives me a satisfaction. It's not by design that I've decided on organizations. I have decided on organizations based on my conversation with the leaders of the respective organizations who, who shared with me the expectations they have when they hired me. If that has excited me, if that has energized me, of course, the compensation, I'll not deny that. Uh, I have changed ships.
No, that's very powerful. See, two things which stand out is, like you said, hunger to do good quality of work, and also along with that hunger, the willingness to take risks. See, in the environment that we live in, being in the comfort zone has become the norm. People don't like it. I mean, 3 days of work from home, 3 days from office, the hybrid model, this problem, this model, that model, everything. So that comfort factor has become very powerful. But here, to the young listeners, the willingness to take risks, to charter uncharted territory, to venture into uncharted territory and challenge yourself is again so powerful. So, unless you do that, how will you grow? And it takes, as you grow higher in the career journey, it becomes all the more difficult. See, another thing which you very powerfully said that I'll come to the C-suite, HR being the strategic partner, but another very interesting thread which comes out is getting the team to perform. See, it's not it's not as simple as it sounds.
No.
That you have a team and you get it to perform. So some secrets on how to make your team perform. We talked about. So I would like to hear it from your mouth, Sujoy.
Amit, I'm a person who first reaches out to the individual and not the professional.
Okay,
Each and every team member I've ever worked with, I know them in person.
very nice,
I know what ticks in them, what are their challenges, what are their issues, but I don't cross the boundaries of professionalism and personal space. But at the same time, I create a confidence in them where they can come and share their lives with me.
very
I
nice,
don't intrude into their lives, but they have that faith and confidence and that respect on me, saying that if they talk it out with Shujoy, maybe Shujoy can give them a solution from his experience in life. Maybe Shujoy can at least listen to them. Because it's very important, Amit, that we listen to people. And that's what I've done over the years. I've spent a lot of time listening to my team members because I feel that they come with certain basic fundamental knowledge and experience. I just have to enable them to perform better from where they are, the current levels. And that can come from their confidence in me being a leader who can support them. And I always believe that I will never ever pull up my team members in front of others. I will recognize them in public, but if I rebuke them, I'll do it in person. And I respect them for what they are and who they are. So that way I create a bond, a personal bond. And in fact, a lot of my team members who have left organizations or the organizations I have left, they have remained really connected to me, not only for professional requirements, but even when they have something in the family, they're going through a crisis, they want to make a career shift, they want to make a location shift, they want to do something with their son or daughter for their career. They pick up the phone and talk to me or message me on a WhatsApp. They have no reason to do that. Because,
very
but
nice,
then I always have tried to create a team who can believe in me, I believe in them. And then I try to support them in their professional development because I talk to them. I say that, okay, if I expect something from you, I need to also support you and equip you with the capability to scale up your performance. So I lay a lot of emphasis on investing in their development, and I lay a lot of emphasis on relationship building with my team.
very nice,
So I spend a lot of time to know them as who he or she is. And I've got umpteen examples to share. Uh, when people have gone through crises, when people have gone through IVF treatments, it has not worked with them. When people had to go to medically terminated pregnancy, when people had to go through a divorce, they had no reason to come and tell me, Amit. And and when I've heard them out, I've absorbed it in myself. They knew that if I tell Shujoy, at least I've spoken, or there's someone to hear me out. There's someone who can show some empathy, spend a couple of hours with them over a cup of coffee and listen to them. Treat them as human beings, Amit. At the end of the day, Treat your team as people with feelings, with emotions, and who want to do good. Don't take your team as people who are cannot be improved, who are not well intending. Believe in your team.
Very nice. See, it is so powerful. We covered, you shared listening to them with the desire to elevate them, creating that trust so that they share everything with you, improving the capability, respect, but most importantly, and this is to the young upward mobile professionals, treat them as human beings, not as a means to an end. See, if I want to rise in my career, these are the tools I use, and somehow by climbing over their shoulders or trampling on them, that's not how it works. And in today's connected world, this is how information travels. So you join a new company, people will know somebody or other in the past company. They'll call that person up and they'll take your feedback. And if you have that reputation of not being a good human being, because it's only a in my workshops also, I tell them that the best way to be a good leader is to be a good human being. So, you succinctly told about that. See, one thing, going to our just discussion, mentors and role models. So, like you mentioned, that there were some leaders whom you were very impressed with, and not necessarily they were your mentors, but you would observe them. You made them maybe your role models. How are they behaving in public? So it's not only mentorship, it's also creating the role models and trying to follow them. So some thoughts on that, Sujoy.
Oh, but Amit, I've been blessed with very good bosses throughout my life, both in HR domain as well as business leaders. And my first, I wouldn't like to take names. Uh, they have actually. I came into HR from IR, and there was my boss in BOC. I'm moving from Philips to BOC. So he knew that I was a rookie in HR, and that was a corporate HR role. He had the faith in me. I don't know why. Uh, how I convinced him to have the faith in me, don't ask me. But uh, he got a liking towards it, gave me an offer of an L&D role in BOC, which I started my career with. And therefore, he's the first person to whom I owe a lot of things. And then I got to learn a lot of things in terms of composure, calmness, then reality, uh, in terms of how to keep calm, how to stay grounded. And he taught me a lot of things. So and then over the period of time, I've worked with leaders who have inspired me by their knowledge of the business, the knowledge of the domain, and I've got a lot of professional gurus from whom I've learned, and I owe it to each one of them. Everyone has taught me something, and if you ask me who is my mentor professionally, one single person, you have to name a gentleman, Dr. Zahid Ganji. Zahid had many years of experience with ITC. He's now on his own. Dr. Ganji has been a huge influence and mentor on my life, on my journey as an individual, as a human being, and also the professional. Then I've had bosses within Everready, my director operations, who was there again, an IIT graduate who's moved into HR and operations. And I remember a final interview with him when he grilled me more on ID Act, when I thought he'll be asked me most, whether it was a GM HR role. HR के बारे में कुछ पूछा ही नहीं, when went on asking me about ID Act and Factories Act. I realized that boss, मेरा domain interview इतना grilling नहीं हुआ था. He's asking so many things, so I came out of the interview and thought that नौकरी मिलने वाला नहीं है. And I mean, what I've done it, I've kept in touch with all of them.
Very nice.
I have every even today a small thing. I don't do much. On a Teachers' Day, I send them a message, enabling, expressing my gratitude to them for wherever I am today. And they share me messages saying that, why do you do it? I said that, sir, whatever I am today, you've contributed to my journey of growth.
Very nice.
And so it's very small things, Amit, we can do for people whom we have learned for. As I said, my D then boss in BOC was a huge inspiration, whom I keep in touch with. My bosses in Everready, my um, current boss also, from whom I learn a lot of things as a business leader. So my business leader, and in the HR domain, I've come across many HR thought leaders as a part of the National HRD network. Uh, I don't want to name one and not name the other, but then I constantly learn from them, to be
Very
honest.
nice, very nice. So, see, we talked about that HR. See, when I started my career, HR, we would be in sales. I'm a sales guy. We would look at HR in a certain way, and it wasn't respected much, maybe, but and it was considered as a support function. But now, today, the situation has changed drastically. Now, HR, like you said, is a strategic function, and it's part of the C-suite. So, and but it's not the case with every HR professional or in every HR company even today in India. So, what does an HR professional need to do to have that position? Maybe in the growing years or when they reach that position, that seniority, that they also get a seat at the table.
Amit, what HR people usually make the mistake is they don't understand the language of the business.
Very nice.
Because, as you rightly said, HR is an enabling function. It will continue to remain an enabling function. I always tell my colleagues, because we don't generate the revenue directly. We enable revenue generation and profit by making people more capable and more engaged and more productive in the organization. That's our role, getting the right people on board to the employee life cycle to manage them so that they become more productive and contributing to the larger business goals of the organization. So, therefore, I think first and foremost thing HR folks uh, need to figure out that, boss, I need to understand the balance sheet. Not necessarily drop the balance sheet, but figure out what are the key indicators in a balance sheet talks about the health of the organization. Is the organization heavily leveraged? Is it in deep debt? What are the credit in the cash flow situation of the organization? I will come to the point where you said sales finds it very difficult at times because HR is at fault. It's not sales' fault to have perception of HR because HR never understood what sales does. Because I worked in FMCG company, Amit, ever ready. First thing I did was to visit the the not the branch offices, but the rural markets
Very
where the
nice.
secondary distribution units used to fill up the consumption points
Very
where
nice.
the tertiary market used to operate. My distribution vans used to carry the batteries and everything and go to a kirana shop and stock the commodity out there. Go to the distributor point, figure out why do they take ever ready torches and batteries, and figure how does the competition move, how my distribution unit moves, because that's where the pain areas of my sales guys are.
Correct.
And I also figure out that what are their uh, development requirements, what is the
Mhm.
kind of people I need. Do I need a guy from business school to do sales in the rural market of UP or Bihar or Maharashtra, wherever they're selling in Balia? If I get somebody from IIM Ahmedabad or ISB to go and do battery selling out there, he or she might do it as an experience to understand the process. But then day in and day out, going to a kirana shop, one kirana shop to another kirana shop, another kirana shop, doesn't work. FMCG companies have that model as a training for their management graduates, where they have a structured project, 3 months, 4 months in certain markets, depending on the dynamics of that market, so that you get a cross market exposure. But if I actually look at the salesperson, even who's selling a paint or a television, I need to understand how my consumer interacts with the salesperson
Very
and
nice.
how does the salesperson convert the sales. So unless I understand that, Amit, my sales head, national sales head, or a branch manager, zonal manager, I will not be able to relate to his problems.
Correct.
And if I don't relate to his problems, he will not get that confidence in me. I cannot give him a bookish, theoretically correct solution. That will not work with him. And every organization, every operation has its own nuances and requirements. So I'll have to give solutions which are more practical, more realistic to get accepted by the function. So sales was one example I gave. If I don't understand what the pains of finance function or the commercial function, logistics function, I will not be able to facilitate their efficiency.
It is so
So I think
powerful.
understanding the language of the business is very language of the operations is very important, which we at times fail to appreciate and assimilate in ourselves so that we can partner them better. And let's not forget we have to partner them.
Correct. So this is so powerful. See, finance, sales, and operations. These are the three pillars on which every organization runs. And in case we have the understanding at I mean not only in HR, I think every department at the more understanding you have. See, one question which comes to mind with this discussion is so Joy that see, we talked about relationship that, to make a team work, you have to build relationships with them. And then to understand how people at the ground level are, the challenges that they are facing. See, I remember an incident. There was a defense minister who ordered the Babus in the defense ministry to go to Siachen because they were taking time in clearing a file for some woolen overcoats for the soldiers. And that very act that he ordered them to go to Siachen and have a look at it, because my friend was in army that time, motivated the entire army so much that at least here is somebody, even if it won't make such a big difference, he actually understands our problems. So this is so powerful. But the important question is, see, everybody has their own KRAs and KPIs, and they have to deliver it on a daily basis on which they are tasked. Apart from doing that and doing a good job in that, how can a professional, especially a young professional, find time to build relationships and also find time to understand finance and also spend time going on to the sales calls? How can one do that, all of it together in one go?
Uh, the organization also has to support that, I would say, because it
Okay.
is a two-way street, and organization also must create learning opportunities and create ecosystems where an employee also has the opportunity to walk across and have cross-functional teams,
Okay.
CFTs to on projects where people get to learn from each other, contribute to meaningful solutions for the organization, make innovation a culture in the organization
Mhm.
where these cross-functional teams can work together and pick up and give opportunities to these youngsters to come and interact and talk to each other, arrive at solutions. So I think the organization also needs to provide ecosystems and infrastructure wherein they can provide it, because it cannot be without organizational support and culture. It's not always possible for the individual to take initiatives of his or her own interest and walk across and do something. So there has to be some mechanism which the organization needs to provide to encourage such action from youngsters.
In case, see, a young organization or a middling organization where maybe that cross cultural projects or teams are not there, but there should be something which is in each individual's hand. See, we talked about learning not only the domain but also the business, so that inherent desire to learn. So what can they do in that respect? So let's say, is it possible, we are not asking them to change their behavior or spend maybe a lot of time learning about business or learning about other departments, but half an hour a week, 1 hour a week, is that a possibility?
Amit, yes, because in today's generation, they want to learn. Let's not deny the fact, because they are constantly wanting to upgrade and upscale their skills to be more relevant in the marketplace or in the organizations where they work. So recognize people hot skills they are acquiring, have organizational systems where you give them opportunities to constantly. There are a lot of platforms which provide opportunities for self-learning. So if
Mm-hmm.
anybody acquires a hot skill, give hot skill bonuses, hot skill recognitions, and
Okay.
so that you are encouraging people to scale up their own skills and capabilities so that they become more relevant. And in the
Mm-hmm.
process, the organization also leverages the hot skill. It's not a one-way process. As you rightly said, provide online platforms. There are a lot of online platforms which are available now where people can either you sponsor at structured programs. So people, if they invest in their own self-development, at least recognize them for that and recognize them publicly. Have a, so I'm
Very
saying
nice.
that yeah,
Very
you can
nice.
create ecosystems to
Or they
even
can,
encourage self-development.
or even spending time having a water cooler discussion with a
Yes.
sales guy, with a business guy, with an operations guy. our thing, just being pally with them and trying to understand. There are
Oh
so many
yes,
things which can be done.
oh
See,
yes, because that's what COVID has done. It spoiled it entirely. Uh, no, because in those water cooler discussions or coffee discussion next to the coffee machine, Amit sorts a lot of problems.
correct,
You cannot always arrive at solutions in very structured meetings. But
correct,
आमने सामने बैठ के बात करने से बहुत सारा solutions निकल जाता है. And these are informal discussions, but having a formal element to it.
correct,
And there's a buy-in of both the parties, and then you can come to a conclusion. And these things happen across walking on a corridor also. You need not always set up a meeting at a particular date
correct,
and time to come to a decision. And at least, and what COVID has done is they've spoiled, they've actually taken away this opportunity. They've spoiled the emotional fabric of the
correct,
organization, and they're not allowing people to interact. Now, companies have rebooted themselves back to the physical space, but a lot of companies are still not.
correct,
And people are just operating behind laptops.
correct.
So the emotional quotient of the individual is getting compromised.
Correct. It is so powerful. There have been so many behavioral scientists experiments that, a monkey being having a robot or having a mannequin in the cage versus a monkey with his or its own mother, and the same feeding, same everything else, but the behavior of those both the subjects is entirely different after some time. It is social contact because we are social animals. It is so powerful. See, but again, cross-functional teams and cross-functional projects are again, it is such a powerful concept to grow. Any examples on this, Sujoy?
I'll give a very recent example. Uh, we have taken up a lot of cross-functional projects based on we did a lot of retreats
Okay,
across the company, mid-level to leadership retreats. A lot of problem statements have come out of them. So, and we've set timelines for those problem statements. We've co-curated the problem statements, and we have created cross-functional teams to work on them, taking a Six Sigma approach. We did something very interesting, Amit, when this organization was formed in 2016. The change of ownership happened. We did something called LSIP, Large Scale Interactive Process, where we had 8 such workshops across the country, where to the last mile employee was involved, and the leadership team went around the country hearing the voices of these employees. It was a 2-day process where people did a SWOT analysis of the organization. They did it in cross-functional table work, where they talked about the dreams and aspirations they have of Gainwell. And then we created a template or a chart where we said that we can do this, we will do this, and certain decisions were taken across and we communicated it. And then when we came back, we collated all the outputs of these 8 workshops. And there used to be a monthly governance meeting in terms of progress of these action points that we had adopted for ourselves. And I used to report back to the rest of the organization about the where we are. That created authenticity and about the leadership. Then
very
next
nice,
we went to the next step where we created retreats where people of middle management leadership level went on to articulate problem statements, and cross-functional teams were created with where we drew in people even the from the lower levels of the employee, because they are the people who actually do the actionable things. They are the people who face the
correct,
problems. So we brought them, we trained them on Six Sigma, Green Belt. A few went on to learn on Black Belt, and we use the Six Sigma techniques of these cross-functional teams to arrive at various problems in terms of changing an organization structure. We were structured in a particular way where our salespeople and the aftermarket, the product support people said, no, we need to be closer to the customer in terms of turnaround time for services. So we went against the wishes of Caterpillar, changed the organization structure. Now it's successful. Caterpillar is accepting our model now.
very
So there
nice,
have been umpteen number of, and it's a continuous process. These
correct.
projects are continuously going on in the organization. There are CFTs which are constantly there, which are working on various digitalization, on process improvement.
Very nice, very nice, very powerful, very good example, Sujoy. So, see, we have talked about sincerity, hard work, learning not only the domain that you are in, but learning about the business also, learning from failures, learning from good leaders, good mentors, and also reverse mentoring, so learning from the team members and especially the younger generation, spending time with the youngsters, and team handling, not shouting at them in public, and listening to them, trying to elevate them. What else? Is there anything else which you would want to add to a young HR professional who would be listening to this discussion, Sujoy?
Amit, my, if you call it advice, worth two pence would uh, be open to learning. Be open to learning. Don't have the fear of failure
Very
because
nice.
unless you fail, you'll never succeed. In fact, in life, I think we have more failures than successes.
Correct.
So you remember this. You remember the successes because they stand out,
Correct.
and they are far and few in number. So failures are more to write about. So don't be afraid of failures because no, what typically happens is younger generation is they're afraid of failure. They cannot
Correct.
accept, as you rightly said in the beginning,
Correct.
failure because the world has become too competitive.
Correct.
The world is constantly in a very judgmental mode,
Correct.
and failure or success is defined by material successes
Correct.
nowadays. So, and the younger generation, for unfortunately, has become very impatient generation. They are not wanting to wait for results. It's like a QSR, quick service restaurant. They
Correct.
want everything served to them on a plate here and now.
Correct.
Everything in life is not here and now.
Correct.
There is an element of patience one needs to apply in one's life because everything cannot be obtained or attained the moment I want it.
Correct.
There's a process to reach that destination,
Correct.
right? The processes have shrunk because there's more enablers are available to reach those goals. But then short circuiting those processes may not be the right approach. They might achieve one goal, but in the process they might miss other goals. So I think while they should be open to learning, not be afraid of failures, they should also have the patience to go through a process. And what I want is agility. They should be constantly thinking, investing in their own selves,
Very nice.
and not bask in one single glory because that single glory is very temporary in nature. So it is very important for them also to realize the fact that the past is always uh, not something which they say, "अरे यार वो तो हो गया उन लोग के जमाने में होता था." No, every generation has contributed something
Correct.
to make the world where it is today, good
Correct.
or bad. So learn from it and don't disrespect the seniors.
Correct.
You have things to learn from the seniors, you process them, you take the inputs, hear them out. Because this generation does not like listening too much
Correct.
because their world is revolved around this mobile phone.
So
They swipe,
I saw my son once. He was watching television. He had his laptop on, and he was also looking at his mobile from time to time. I said, "What are you doing?" He said, and then he shared with me. I used to ask him to come for a movie. This was some years back, and he said, "I can't go to watch a movie because it's difficult for me to pay attention to only single one thing for
yeah,
for so long." I mean, now he
absolutely.
has changed.
I mean, they're losing their social skills. They need to accept the fact that we live in a society. We don't live like a Robinson Crusoe in Ireland.
Correct.
They need to develop those social skills because the world has changed. The society has changed from joint families moved to nuclear families. You don't have siblings. You have single child. A lot of parents
Correct.
now in the process, and you stop playing games. Your games are in this laptop or on a mobile phone. So physical games, what you used to play, cricket, football, mixing with people in the mohalla, in those things have gone. They are no more there. So the social skills of sharing, giving, caring, of understanding what my friend feels has all become very digital and
And
artificial.
And these are corporate skills also because you get the team player skills. Because when you're playing cricket in a team, somebody would be a
Absolutely.
loudmouth, somebody would be a
And
arrogant guy, and you know,
Amit, it's fun. My life skill I've learned because I used to be a cricketer. I used to play for my state, under 15, under 19. I was university blue in cricket.
very
I
nice.
played first division cricket in Calcutta. I had a couple of centuries to my name. So I'm a passionate sportsman. And I think this team sport still teaches a lot of things.
Correct.
And in today's generation, they are running away from team sports. Even the education system is such. It's making people run, 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 chase after success.
Correct.
And encouragement in sports is not happening as frequently and in a larger scale as used to happen in your and my time. So
I think
therefore, the
also
social skills
I
are
think
not there.
also there is a lot of pressure. See, I remember in my time, there was hardly any, we were not judged. Everybody would be having the same Lexine sofa. Everybody would be having the refrigerator in the drawing room to show to others that we also have a refrigerator,
Yeah.
that black and white television with the shutter
Ah,
box. Everybody was, but now people are just constantly 24 hours a day. So the pressure to perform and to have that show others that I also have that iPhone, I also have that, and it starts so young. So the amount of pressure these guys carry is so immense. So I don't know how they will cope,
Samit,
but these are
sorry to cut you short. You've hit a very passionate point of mine, so I'm carrying on this conversation. We as parents also have a role to play
correct,
because how we bring up our children and keep them grounded to reality and not create a euphoria or utopia world and give them everything and anything they ask for in their very childhood in our what should I say, earnestness to prove we are good parents. Good parenting does not mean giving
correct,
everything.
correct,
So in that, and we want to hold on to our kid because they're the only child. Our parents may have multiple children. So love used to get distributed. You used to feel very jealous of your brother or sister. But आजकल के दिन पे everything is concentrated on that single child.
correct,
So success,
correct,
failure, the social image is built around that. And therefore the child is under huge pressure. So when I talk to the young kids, it's not always their fault.
correct,
It's the way the society is
correct,
bringing them up or creating them. We are creating these
correct,
evils.
correct. In fact, sometimes parents of participants who attend my workshops, they bring their kids to my office, to counsel them. So if I talk to the kid for 15 minutes, I talk to the parents for 45 minutes because it's they. So very interesting discussions,
I think
Sujoy.
what you're doing in Kushalta, I think, is very phenomenal because that's very important because we do similar things in an organization where we have counselors talking to parents how to bring up their children. The fault does not lie only in the young kid.
Correct,
The fault lies in parents also. The parents need to unlearn and relearn how do they need to handle their child and how do
correct.
they enable the child to evolve and grow.
Correct. Very right. See, also the new technology, the new generation, they are coming with the new technology. They are more comfortable with the new technology. So how can an HR professional use the new technology, like AI, for example, or other tools to become better?
No, it's a very standard thing. A lot of people are talking about AI replacing people and all that stuff. There's a huge hue and cry across the world, especially in technology companies. I believe AI is going to take away the routine and the mundane jobs.
Correct.
Right? I'll give you an example, talent acquisition for that matter. You use AI tools to the screening of the CVs vis-a-vis your job description or the competency profile you've mapped and fed into the system, which the talent acquisition person first had to go through the CVs, do this, do that. So a large part of your repetitive, non-value adding jobs will be now done by artificial intelligence. Now, then what happens to this talent acquisition person? He or she can then focus on strategic hirings.
Very
Look
nice.
at what is the future hiring pattern of my organization based on the business growth,
Very
rather
nice.
than spending time on looking at CVs, because the CVs also with AI also helps in predictive, gives you predictive analysis of what is the chance of this person joining your organization, what has been his or her past records, based on which comes to predictive information. So now a talent acquisition person can spend more time on quality hirings and enable the business to do even futuristic planning for their hirings. L&D can do repetitive trainings with the help of AI.
Very
But
nice.
AI cannot replace what you guys are doing in Kushalta, or what I do when I have my, conflict management workshop
Correct.
or personal effectiveness workshop. There, it has to be a person to person
Correct.
interaction. Digital world cannot replace human behavior, human emotions. It's only an enabler to allow me to spend more time in better quality of work in
Correct.
HR.
Correct. Very powerful. So see, we are. I didn't realize it's almost an hour since we started talking, Sujoy. So quick, two, three last questions. So some advice for the people at mid management level.
Mid management level is don't have a rush to be at the to be the CHRO. Uh, don't be in a rush. Give yourself that adequate moss to grow on your experience, so that you can fall back on that when opportunity comes. Don't be in a rush to be there. Give yourself the time and also develop yourself accordingly, so the organization where you work recognizes your capability and potential and gives you the opportunity. If you don't get it, you can always look outside. But then when you look outside also, the other potential organization will measure you based on the quality of work you've done.
Correct.
So focus on the quality of work and contribution you're making to your current organization. Are you making a difference? Are you leaving a mark? And
Very nice.
success will not happen overnight. So one is to have the patience. Uh, don't be impatient. Patience does not mean stay for donkey's years without getting recognized or getting run over. But at the same time, invest in your own self development.
Very nice.
That is a constant thing.
People at senior level,
Invest in self development because that is a continuous journey. And
correct,
people at the senior level is please accept change because we after so many years we feel that bus we have reached मोक्ष of our careers. So और क्या सीखना है यार और कुछ सीखने
correct,
का है, बाकी है ही नहीं. इन लोगों
correct,
को करने दो. तब क्या होगा कि हम लोग पीछे रहेंगे, ये लोग हम लोग को क्रॉस करके निकल जाएगा. Then we
correct,
should not be complaining.
correct. I'm
So
big
we need
admirer of Amitabh Bachchan. I mean, even at
yeah
this age, he continues working with the young
yeah.
directors, learns new things, and whether it's technology, so very
You have to
powerful.
constantly unlearn, learn, relearn. That cycle has to go on. We have not reached. We've reached physiological ages. We've reached 35 years, 30 years of work ex. I don't think we've reached our realized the potentials.
Correct. Very powerful. So we have to maintain the time limit, Sujoy, and there are so many
Yeah,
the
yeah.
threads which I still have, which we can pursue, but we'll have to close it here. So thanks for giving us time, Sujoy. It has been a amazing experience, and I'm sure it's going to be very, very helpful to the young and even other professionals who are going to be listening to this. So thank you.
Thank you, Amit. It was a pleasure interacting with you. I just spoke my heart out. I hope it has some relevance or resonates with people who listen to it. Pleasure talking to you.
Thank you. Thank you, Sujoy.